I keep hearing, and social media is like it's either your best friend or your worst enemy, but it's like it's like an abusive partner. You keep going back for a bit more, chock full of more misinformation than you can shake a stick at. I mean, it is absolutely round. I know these are just people's opinions and stuff. It's not the news, so to speak, although some people like to say this is the news. But if you dig deep, every now and again, you will find some interesting threads and some reliable bits of information. And you'll also find people's opinions that just make you sit up and go, are you serious? And I was looking at a discussion unfold. And this is why you shouldn't spend your life on social media, because you will, on social media, because you will die at some point. You will die of either going completely insane, or you'll be so outraged by the, daft, stupid arguments you've got involved with somebody you don't know, and you're not being paid for your time. But for some reason, you decided to dedicate 32 hours a week rowing with one person over something, to the point you never slept. And you often see this on things like Twitter and previously, like Facebook's still there. A few people, your nan might use it, but it's still around. You see an argument that is happening, 7 in the evening. For some reason, it's caught your attention. And then the next morning, when you look at it, it's still going on. They return to it at 7 in the morning. Why would you bother? Why do people get so animated about stuff? And usually neither party knows what they're talking about. And the reason I mention this is absolutely relevant to the shoplifting story. When you look at the amount that is being 55,000 incidents a day, 2,000 violent and abusive incidents a day. We're talking about the cost of shoplifting going from 1.8 billion to 2.2 billion. And I saw a thread unravel on social media where someone said, just very glibly, it's because of the cost of living crisis. I mean, firstly, get in the bin, you half-wit. It's the cost of living. Is that you nick a Prada handbag because of the cost of living crisis? Or a caseload of vodka and a swift bottle of Lightning Jacks because of the cost of living? Really? Oh, is that what it's about? Because you can't feed your kids. So let's go and half-inch some Mulberry goods down there in New Bond Street or elsewhere. Really? The cost of living? Nonsense. So whenever there is a narrative that really deserves some anger, there is always some dodgepot out there who'll go, I think you'll find it's because people can't afford to eat. Don't buy that for 1 second. That is fake news right there. But you will see that view proliferated all over social media at different times and in varying forms. So shop thefts and attacks on shop staff have hit the highest levels on record. On record. The levels of lawlessness are absolutely huge. And I'm talking to you in particular, if you work in this industry. How many times, and again, something that I don't think used to happen, but no, even in shops that have security guards, why would you pay the security guards? They don't stop the people nicking the stuff. How many more videos? You've all seen them. Again, go back to social media, look on YouTube, security staff doing nothing while somebody robs the store. You've got people doing their walking around with a basket, a trolley, doing their shopping. They're clearly about to nick it. They don't even do a runner, they do a walker. They nick it, they lob the stuff in the trolley and they walk out. And the bloke goes, excuse me, and that's it. That's the end of the confrontation. Because they're told by their bosses, don't get involved. You might get badly hurt. And we've got to protect you. Don't have the security. What's the security person doing there then? It's an absolute nonsense. If you work in that industry, in retail or in a connected area, just describe for me, if you would, how this feels. Like being there, literally on the shop floor, whether you're in one of the big shops. I saw a fella nick a sandwich out of Costa yesterday. In fact, it was an old lady in front of me. I saw this bloke kind of just dithering by the food bit. It was only a small Costa. And he was just kind of standing there. And I thought, is he in the queue? Is he not in the queue? But he was by the food, and then he just walked out. And I thought, did he do something then? And then the old lady said, that man just nicked a sandwich. And they just went, oh. No, I mean, no one followed him out. It was in a railway station. They could have probably clocked him and at least got their sarnie back. But it's broad daylight stuff. And if you're in that place, is it so common that you just simply don't have to worry about it? And the figures are getting worse. This is the greatest high of incidents since 2001. Helen Dickinson, Chief Executive of the British Retail Consortium, will be speaking to those guys later, says this is spiralling out of control. It's despite businesses paying a record, and this is interesting, a record 1.8 billion on prevention, things like CCTV, security guards, body-worn cameras and stuff like that. Funny who you see with a body-worn... The first time I saw a parking attendant with a body-worn camera, I thought he wasn't a real parking attendant. I thought, who has that right in the middle of his chest? Sternum cam. They're filming every altercation just for his own safety. 61% of retailers say police response to calls for help has been poor or very poor. We'll speak to one woman in around about 20 minutes with the most unbelievable story of a lack of response. It's extraordinary. Retailers are reporting unprecedented levels of violence towards their staff, with the number of incidents involving a weapon more than doubling to 70 a day. 70 people a day. Seriously, 490 people a week are in an incident involving a weapon because they work in a shop and they're trying to stop somebody nicking something. So what is behind this? I don't even think it's just the fact that you might struggle to get a police officer out. I mean, I know they cut the numbers of police, but they put quite a lot of numbers back in the last few years. I don't think it's so bad that no one can attend a shoplifting incident. So speak to me as somebody who works in retail, as somebody who used to work in retail. Maybe you got the hell out of Dodge because of stories such as this. Whether it's about the violence and abuse of shop workers or just the theft itself, what kind of scale is it on? And what sort of response did you get when you tried to kind of, report it? You think that's quite a serious thing. A shoplifting incident. The first time I ever saw that was a kid. R Price Records. Remember R Price? Somebody nicking I was about to say a CD. It was probably a vinyl. I don't know. Either way, shoving it in their jacket, in the inside of their jacket, and then just quietly walking out. I thought I'd just witnessed a murder. I mean, it was absolutely shocking to me. That's the taboo nature that people, the reaction we used to have. So the sort of knock-on effect of how, so even those of us that don't go around nicking stuff, or I did accidentally once steal a pepper from a supermarket, but that's a whole other story. Those of us that don't do, used to be really shocked. And I suppose part of that shock as a law-abiding citizen was, disappointment and a bit of outrage. Wow. Now, you don't really think much about it. That's the first time I've mentioned the fella nicking the sarnie out of Costa since it happened. I haven't mentioned it to anybody. Didn't mention it at home, didn't mention it at work. I think a few years ago you'd have gone to work and said, guess what I just saw? I only nicked a cheese and ham toastie out of Costa. I think that would be a bit of a story. It wouldn't be your greatest anecdote, but it'd be something you'd mention. This stuff is very common. If you have been there on the receiving end, if you know what this feels like, the violence or just the theft, if you own the store in particular, then there's real problems there.